This video is brought to you by Henson Shaving. Given the chaos of the last few years, 2023 was actually, in comparison, quite a quiet one. There were no government collapses, no deadly pandemics, and no referenda. The most dramatic part of the year in politics was just the continuation of Tory factional infighting, with the darling of the right, Suella Braverman, getting herself sacked from cabinet, and centrist former Prime Minister David Cameron being brought back into the fold. So what's expected to happen next year in UK politics? Well, it's likely that this factional infighting will continue with even worse consequences for the Tories. We have yet another by-election in a safe Tory seat on the horizon: the London mayoral election, local elections, and perhaps most excitingly, the general election. So in this video, we're going to have a look at what could happen in each of these in turn, and where it could leave the UK political parties. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop and be notified when we release new videos. 2024 kicks off with essentially a litmus test for the year to come. Back in October, Tory backbench MP Peter Bone was accused in a report by the independent expert panel of an array of bullying offences and an act of sexual misconduct against a member of his staff. While on a work trip in 2013, it's alleged that he dropped his towel and exposed his genitals close to the employee's face. He's also alleged to have massaged the complainant and to have thrown objects at them and struck them on a number of occasions. For his part, Bone has denied these accusations. The panel recommended a suspension from the House of 6 weeks, which triggered a recall petition. It was announced towards the end of December that this recall petition had been successful, as it had been signed by 13.2% of voters in his constituency. The threshold for a recall petition is 10%. Although no date has yet been announced, it's expected that a parliamentary by-election is set to take place sometime early in the year, around February time. His Wellingborough constituency is a Tory safe seat, with Bone achieving an 18,540 vote majority in the 2019 general election. It's been Tory since 2005, although Labour had held it prior to this since 1997. Now, this is going to be an interesting case for Labour, who won 4 of the 6 by-elections held in 2023. The question is whether they can keep this momentum up and demonstrate that their polling lead is going to hold going into other elections in 2024. Now, it is true that in 2023 Labour overturned larger majorities than in Wellingborough, in Tamworth, Mid-Bedfordshire and Selby and Ainsty, although there is reason to believe that this time it could be a lot harder. Essentially, it all comes down to expectation management. Labour won so many by-elections last year that people are expecting them to win this seat, even despite the huge majority. If they don't, political commentators are going to question the ability of them to win a thumping majority at the general election. The Tories will be keen to try and show that they've been shortchanged in the polls and will likely throw everything they have at the seat. With no polling out yet, it's hard to predict exactly what will happen, but the conventional wisdom seems to suggest that Labour could win. It's just that if they don't, it could be a signal of bad things to come. The next big event in the year are the local elections and the London mayoral election. Now, in the last few local elections, the Tories have fared particularly badly, with them losing over 1,000 council seats in the 2023 local elections. It was a result of these elections that Labour became the largest party in local government again for the first time since 2002. Now, the last time these specific seats were up for election was back in 2021, when the Tories made significant gains at the expense of the Labour Party. Undoubtedly, the star appeal of then Prime Minister Boris Johnson helped in this victory. It's likely that given the collapse of the Tory party since then, the Tories will experience a defeat similar to that of 2023. In regards to the London mayoral election, polling has been conducted, and it seems that things are going very well for incumbent Labour Mayor Sadiq Khan, who's seeking a 3rd term. A poll from Find Out Now for the Evening Standard, conducted at the beginning of November, found that Khan had a lead of 21 points. This is roughly similar to a Lord Ashcroft poll from the end of October that gave Khan a huge 27-point lead. The Tory candidate Susan Hall hadn't had the best campaign period, with her controversially claiming that she'd been pickpocketed on the tube, and she used this story to try and highlight the prevalence of crime on the underground under the incumbent mayor. It turned out that the wallet was actually returned to her and it still had her money in, and that it was likely that it had just fallen out of her pocket. She was even asked to apologise for this incident on a phone call-in on LBC. The point is that as things stand, it looks entirely possible for Labour to win the local elections and the London mayoral election on the same day. As this will likely be the last election day prior to the general election, it could be a humiliating day for the Tories and a sign that they're heading for a rather large defeat. So that brings us on to the main event itself, the general election. It was only a few weeks ago that Sunak confirmed that 2024 will indeed be an election year. Exactly when this election will take place is, well, not currently known. Some suggest it could be earlier in the year, perhaps May. Some suggest it could be later, perhaps after the conferences in October or November. Either way, things are really not looking good for the Tories. Polling suggests that Labour are still about 20 points ahead, and that the public think that a small Labour majority is the most likely outcome at the election, with a large Labour majority the second most likely outcome. Even more troubling for the Tories is the fact that Labour are ahead on trust on asylum and immigration and on the economy. The economy and the cost of living crisis is the issue that the public most care about right now, and it's entirely possible the next election will centre heavily on this. All indicators point then to a Labour majority in 2024, with Keir Starmer becoming Prime Minister. Now, it's worth noting that polling is only an indication of what the public want at that moment, and this can change, especially in a campaign period. Theresa May called the 2017 election because the polls indicated that she would increase her majority, and this didn't end up happening. The point is that it's reasonable to assume that Labour will win the next election at this point, but it's not guaranteed. We'll be sure to keep you updated though throughout 2024 as we get ever closer to the election, so make sure you subscribe.
I've been using Henson's products for a few months now, and I really do recommend them from an economic, environmental, and shave perspective. Firstly, Henson's razors take entirely standard razor blades, which means instead of being forced to buy expensive replacement blades, including features you don't even need, Henson's razors cost about 10 cents each, allowing you to replace your blades more frequently and cut down costs significantly. Now, admittedly, the razor itself may cost more than other brands, but over the lifetime of the products, it quickly becomes a lot cheaper than buying all of those expensive replacement blades. This razor model is also better for the environment, with the Henson AL13 and all of its packaging being entirely plastic-free. Plus, unlike those expensive multi-blade upsells that other companies will push, even the blades themselves are plastic-free, helping to cut down on the over 2 billion disposable razors that are thrown away every year in the US alone. Finally, Henson's beautiful razors are precision engineered by an aerospace machine company who previously built parts for the Mars rover and the ISS, which means incredibly tight tolerances, high standards, and superb precision. And all of this combined means that while a single razor blade might sound scary, I've found it far easier to use than other comparable products, with a precise shave plane of about 0.0013 inches, offering a safe and perfect shave, while also minimizing the risk of ingrown hairs and irritation. So if you too want to try out Henson, then you can get 100 free blades with your purchase by clicking the link in the description, adding the razor and the blades to your basket, and then using our code. Thanks to Henson for sponsoring this video, and to you for supporting TLDR News.